So my card reader went down mid-transaction on Saturday with, of course, the customer standing there wondering what's going on. And that's kind of how this market went overall. Welcome to Cedar Moon Candle Co. My name is Christy Ann, and I make nature-inspired candles for ordinary days. Currently, I'm vending at the Salem Saturday market, and this is my market recap for the week of April 18th. I'll let you know exactly what happened, the good, the bad, the vibe, and everything. I will say off the bat that I've been a little nervous about talking about this market in this way, just because, well, one, because it's my first foray into this kind of content, but also because unlike other vendors that I see that, bop around to different markets, and so it's always kind of something a little different, different focus, different city, all of that. I don't have that. This is come start of May, I am at this same market until the end of September. Yeah, it might be a little different, but this will give you a chance to maybe see what it's like to kind of dive deep into a market and hang out there for the summer. The Saturday market itself actually starts in the middle of March, but I have a winter market that goes through the middle of March. And so I opted to take a little bit of time off in between the markets, which is kind of a nice break, but I've been wanting to get back out there and see folks and sell my candles and all that. The market itself starts at 9 in the morning. They want vendors to be ready to sell about 10-15 minutes ahead of that. Some of the farmer vendors there already have people lined up and buying by that point. But in general, having done this market last year, typically there's not as much action in kind of the craft area of the market as early as that. The market goes 9 to 2. We usually get there 7:30-ish to get things set up. My daughter is with me for most markets, although sometimes I'll have my husband with me helping out. It is very nice to have the two people, and I realize how lucky I am to have that backup person to help. The weather was beautiful, but challenging to dress for. Blue sky, almost no breeze. 7:30 when we were unloading, it was somewhere between 37-40 degrees. When we were packing up, it was at 68 or 69. It was headed for a high of, I think, 74, which may not sound like much, but I am a real wimp when it comes to heat. I just don't tolerate it well. So it was hard in going to the market to be prepared for that. It's going to be cold when we get there. Do I go ahead and wear kind of the light winter coat that I have, knowing that I get warm when we do all the setup and everything? But when it's that cold to that warm, it gets a little hard to figure out what to bring with you. The booth fee for this market is $40 for every Saturday. I opt to pay a little bit more to have a reserved vendor spot, so this year I am in the same spot all market season long. This market also has an application fee, and it has a membership fee because it's co-op-ish. I don't know how it's officially described, but if you reserve a certain number of Saturdays and you prepay, you get a discount depending on the number of Saturdays that you sign up for. So in my case, all of that comes to about $37 every Saturday. It is a juried market. I was juried last year. I don't have to re-jury year to year unless I am bringing in a significantly new item. But I haven't had to jury anything in this year because everything I've got is a continuation. Setup was mostly as expected. You get to drive right up to your spot, offload. You don't get to luxuriate there. The expectation is You're going to drive up, you're going to offload your stuff. We are there long enough to pop the canopy up partway so that I can hang the banners while it's still low enough for me to reach. And then my daughter goes, drives the block in half, parks the car, and comes back. So that was all standard. We noticed we were a little out of practice with maneuvering the canopy and which way do you want the wheels pointing. And I had a new banner, so figuring out how to get that hung, even though I had practiced it, I still don't know it yet. And then the booth right next to us, right when we pulled up, there was a market event staff person there because there was misunderstanding. One of the vendors thought that it was her weekend to be there, and it wasn't. And so that exchange was all happening as we were unloading the car. It's a little uncomfortable for the folks around. It doesn't necessarily set the tone for a yay, we're so glad to be here, because there's stuff that's happening. But that kind of stuff happens. The market event coordinator is there to handle those sorts of things. We've had to involve them last year for a booth. Who's really in this spot moment, and they're really great, and we really appreciate the work that they do to keep things running as smoothly as they can. The day was slow overall. There was a lot of foot traffic at the market. People may have been shopping, but they weren't necessarily buying. Fortunately, I guess in a way, the people who are just shopping tend not to actually come into your booth and then say, oh, well, I don't want this. In general, once they come in, they do tend to purchase, but there was just a lot of milling about. I know it was slow for most, I think all the vendors around me. There was a lot of downtime. The bakeries, a couple of bakeries that we have at the market, did not sell out of things, and that's really unusual. Now, it could also be that they are bringing more stock. I don't know that, but in general, it was slow for a lot of folk. It was hard because a number of the vendors decided to be more vocal about not getting sales and being frustrated that they weren't doing well, or nobody was stopping in, or whatever. It used to be a good market and now there are 57 carrot sellers, or whatever. I don't want to be a Pollyanna, oh, everything's fine, because it's not. It's really hard when you put your heart and soul into something and you're there and then people don't buy. I'm really fortunate that this is not our family's primary income. I think it would be a lot more stressful if that was the case. But I also don't know that it's really it's one thing to say, hey, how are your sales going? And have kind of a generic, it's been kind of slow conversation. When it really dwells on, nobody's doing this and this hasn't happened and my worst numbers and all of those kinds of things, that's just tiring to be around. Am I disappointed when there aren't a ton of sales? Yes, absolutely. But I also know that focusing on that is not going to change things. So why focus on it? The other thing that was challenging was my checkout system. I was using an iPad for the first time. Last year, I did everything on my phone with a square dock, but I was running into issues with, if I had a sign-up sheet for email addresses, sometimes people's handwriting is a little tough to make out. I don't want someone to miss out because they wanted to be on the list, but if I get back and I can't tell what they've written down, they're not going to end up on the list. And then also there was just, an iPhone screen is a little small when you start to be my age. Oh, and the other thing is, when someone would like to join the email list or they want a receipt sent to them, instead of them having to tell me their phone number or their email address in a market setting, which again, when someone is spelling something out over market noise, the difference between PBD, those can be really hard. And so this way, I figure with the iPad, I can just spin it around and they can type in their information. And that keeps me out of having to make any mistakes. And it just takes care of it. So I was really excited to use the iPad. When we got there, I had started with using my phone as the dedicated hotspot for it, but then saw that there was a Verizon hotspot nearby, which was saving my phone. But it was by noon. I don't know if it was the number of people there or if it decided it wanted to take a nap or whatever. But we would do, someone would come up to purchase something and we'd go to type it in and it hit charge and it would say, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm not connected. So sorry, you can only take cash." And it's like, no, really, you are connected. I can see with the little symbol you are connected, but its brain was having issues with it. So, with the customer standing there and them feeling like, oh, something's not working because I'm getting a little flustered on my side, I'm having to jump onto my iPhone, turn the hotspot back on, make sure it's reconnected on the iPad. In a lot of ways, it's easier just to do it on your phone because nothing that was horrible. And part of the reason I use Square is because I can do offline sales, but it doesn't feel as professional to me on the backside to be dealing with that. Oh, hang on, just wait. I've got to get this thing connected and this hooked up. And I would much rather not have to do that. So we'll see. I haven't decided how I'm handling this next week, although there is dedicated Wi-Fi there, so that might make it easier. We'll see. In spite of the vendor attitude and the Wi-Fi attitude, there were some really cool moments that happened at the market. When I vend at this market, I wear an inclusivity shirt. And this year I got also an inclusivity little sign, all are welcome here. And I just have a gut feeling from watching folks walk past the booth that there are a couple people that may have started toward the booth and saw the sign and then decided that was not for them. Totally cool. There are other candle vendors that will be for them. It's just not going to be me. And then I don't know if it was because of the sign, but I had some folks stop in who usually I see them walking through the market, but not necessarily stopping and interacting with other vendors. It's sort of an outing. So, like I said, I don't know. It might not have anything to do with the sign. It might be me reading into it. But I had some really cool people that I met, and they're just fun, and their enthusiasm is infectious, and it's a really nice balance to some of what was going on with the vendors around us. So that was really great. Many of them bought and feel like they will be back to buy more, which will be a lot of fun. I'm a little bit anxious to talk about actual numbers, in part because I have comparisonitis. So you see online the vendors that are selling things that some are candle makers, some sell other stuff. How I made $7,000 at a market. And right now, this market is not that kind of market. So far, during the summer, when it's not candle season, you get a steady number of sales, but it's not holiday candle season, which is fine. I mean, it gives you time to prepare for the holiday candle season and to be making some money in between some larger markets. But this is not I made, all of these sales and everything. I made 12 sales. And with taking into account the vendor fees, I made $221.44 after the fees. And that's also after discounts, because I do give a small discount for purchases of multiples of one kind. and the square fees that came out of that. So just over 200 feels really small compared to the, woohoo, I made all this. There's no way to know why sales are like they are. You know, there's a lot going on in the world around us. There's another candle vendor now that's at that market. But I think that brings, 3 candle vendors. So it's not like we're totally saturated and we're all very, very different. Coming in mid-month, you are dealing with paycheck issues for some folks. And unless you are a serious candle lover, candle sales drop as you come into the warm months. There are any number of things that can be affecting the sales numbers. I don't have last year's numbers pulled up, although I don't have a direct one-to-one comparison because I didn't start at the market until middle of July last year. I got in late. So I don't have direct comparisons from now until July. So, it's one of those, you don't know how things compare to last year if you haven't been there. Many vendors are talking about how this year is down compared to last year, and last year was down compared to the year before. So, to make 12 sales, I'm happy to have made them. That means people like my stuff and are willing to give it a try. I think moving into the market kind of officially my full season, which is first Saturday in May, I think it's just a matter of going in and being really grateful for the sales that you do get and making those connections with folks. So there is more, for me anyway, there's more to being out there and selling candles than just like scanning groceries or something with people like, I want this, and you give it to them. I really enjoy the connections that I get to make with folks while I'm at the market. So yeah, this next weekend, it's different. I do have a different market. It's a 2-day event that's called the Oregon AgFest, and it is a celebration of all things agricultural in Oregon. It doesn't necessarily feel like oh yeah, that is right clicked into my audience, but I thought I'd try. I have other vendor friends who, one who makes kids' toys, of course, perfect spot for her. Another who does some body care stuff has said does really well for her too. So, yeah, we'll try. It'll be 2 long days. Saturday is 8:30 to 5. It's a long day. And Sunday's 10 to 5. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. The nice thing is it's inside. Don't have to worry about the canopy. There's Wi-Fi. So that'll be the next market update. Hopefully I can get a little bit of on-site video to go with that and show you kind of what the vibes are. Starting first Saturday in May, I'll be back to the Salem Saturday Market, and we'll keep you posted on how things go there. So thanks for being along for the ride. Take care.